Good evening, good evening, good evening. Who switches your hemorrhoid cream with mustard, but gives you a ride home after the game on Sunday? It's us, Thursday Night Podcast. That's the Tinnipiff for the cool kids. I'm almost blinded already by Susie's background there. So if I start staring off into the wall, it's because I lost my eyesight. But the usual handsome baldies, Brian, Susie, and Cozzy. Brian, how are you?
Doing great.
Suffering from the snow, I believe, as we have up here in the northeast, so much so that Macka suffered really badly by slipping and falling in work, trying to put snow melt down. And now I have to have a trained cat wipe my ass, because that's how difficult things are going. Suzie, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Doing better than Cozzy, apparently.
Cozzy, how are we this week?
Tremendous.
That's good. That'll be tremendous. But here's what we're going to talk about today. The game against Villa, and not the worst, not the best, apparently, says somebody who couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo. We'll discuss what the Super Hyper Mega Global Champions Euro League thingy, how we feel about it now that it's had its first foray, before we get into the traditional knockout stages. We'll have the return of Room 433. It was so enjoyable last week. We're going to do it again, but this time a more broad topic matter. And I'm especially itching to hear Cozzy's one. But remembering always, I get the final say, and then we'll talk about the game against City this weekend, especially in the aftermath of them being dumped unceremoniously by Real Madrid from the Champions League. Is it the beginning of the end for them? Is there enough skin on Pep's head to be scratched off? And is there a chance of a statement win for one team or the other this coming Sunday? But let's begin with the Villa game, boys. I obviously didn't see it live because I have to work all the hours literally that God sent. But a game of errors, it looked like to me. Because I didn't have the passion and the emotion of watching it in real time. Szoboszlai not wanting to mess his hair up and doing a proper defensive header to let Villa score their first. And then, set pieces, not marking players, making runs, etc., etc. But the most egregious mistake, this thing here, whatever this was, and I know we're famous for criticizing Darwin Núñez since the day dot on the Thursday Night Podcast, but we've been justified and edified and all other kinds of fied, because that is not something you would allow in schoolboys soccer, let alone most expensive player in the history of leading Premiership club soccer either. But overall, Brian, what was your impression of the game? Villa are a good team. We've known that all season. They can cause problems, but it seems to me like we caused more of our own than they did to us.
So many missed chances. I mean, I could go on right there. Jota in the first half right there where we could have went back and took the lead like on Mackley. I mean, I'll give you that Núñez right there, but I'll give you the whole Núñez one-on-one with the keeper not passing right there, not passing the ball. That's probably a worse mistake than that, I mean, in my opinion. Again, it was just an odd match. I mean, we just seemed like Gravenberch did not have a good match in that at all. I mean, he looked very, very missing in that match. Again, right there, Mo's like our savior at the give the guy money, give the guy his contract. I mean, it's like, I know. I'll probably suffer the wrath now right there because I mentioned the C word, but 1 goal, 1 assist. I mean, and that's all, and that's what we came there and went off with right there. But again, I really think that this is a match that we should have won. We should have won this match. It should have been at least a 4-2 or I'll give you the sloppy 2 goals that they scored on us, but this should have been at least a 4-2, 5-2 match for us right there. I mean, it's by the missed chances that we had.
And Suzie, do you agree that the thing that worried me was the conceding of 2 goals? Because I've mentioned over the last few weeks that Alisson hasn't regularly kept clean sheets. I mean, he can't be held to fault for every shot that comes at him. But nevertheless, he doesn't seem to be the imperious Alisson that saved games for us. Is that a concern, both the defensive part of it and the fact that we cannot seem to keep the ball out of the net? and also the goalkeeper. Is it time to reconsider Alisson as being the number one? And that definitely should not be Dashfully. If it is, I give up and I'm going to support.
No, I mean Alisson put up a couple of good saves even yesterday. I think. I think when you look back at what Slot started this season, he was saying that the goalkeeper shouldn't be in a position where he's having to make them saves because the defense should be stopping that. And I don't know if you guys play chess, but it's like chess. You know, you protect your king, and the very worst case, your king comes out or wherever, and you have players. You know, you have your positions in front of it, and that's how it should be. So I think Alisson is unfair. He's in a position that's coming after injury where we have injuries or tiredness in the legs of all our defenders. They're just playing every single Premier League game since last season. You know, a left back situation is what it is, and you know they were blowing hot or cold. Trent blows hot or cold, and so does Konate. So I don't think it's as much as Alisson. I don't think Alisson's the problem. It's the defense. It's a protection in front of him and a protection in front of our defenders. That being said, yeah, we shouldn't be conceded, but it's again that's not down to Alisson. I think it's the protection that we're giving. Szoboszlai again, you know, against Everton, that cross comes in. He's the first person that should have cleared that. Tsimikas, and you know his positional sense was poor. Again yesterday. Trent kind of contributed to, I believe, the second goal where he could have blocked that cross. So it's not Alisson, you know, he's just the last man in defense, but the ball shouldn't be coming in. But saying that, I mean, we're playing against, you know, a top four team, and it's, you know, we didn't lose it, and it's no disgrace to come away from Villa Park with a point. I don't think Arsenal didn't. I don't think Arsenal have gone there yet, or if they have, I know they drew 2-2 with them at Emirates, and you know Man City didn't beat them either. So it's not end of the world to drop points there. And as much as we're going to berate Nunes, Jota, he could have put that game away, and he should have put that game away. So he's accountable as much as Nunes is in regards to that.
Cozzy, I know you've got a lot to say about the game, I'm sure, but here's the thing I want to say, because we keep coming back to this, because you will be proven right, I think. I think people are, all of us, to some degree or other, overconfident about this lead. It's not losses, it's draws. And this is going to chip away and give Arsenal the hope, especially if we come away with another draw against City. People might rationalise and say, well, if we wanted 8 points out of the next 4 games or something, that'd be good. Which objectively is probably good, but you don't want to let your rivals in. You don't want to give them even a glimmer of hope, do you? And draws are the way to do that.
Correct. Draws have always killed Liverpool in title seasons. It's something that we all need to get our head around. You need to take losing. Losing is fine if you win your next couple. Draws kill. So, for example, when Liverpool finish on 97 points, Liverpool lose less games than Manchester City. Man City win the league. I think City lose 2, Liverpool lose 1 to City. For the real older Liverpool fans here, in the 08-09 season under Rafa Benitez, when we get 86 points, Liverpool lose 2 games. Liverpool are the only team in the history of English football to lose 2 games in a season and not win the league. Liverpool are also the only team in English football to lose 1 game in a season and not win the league. So this thing of, well, we got a point, it's fine to have a chat like that. But if I offered you right now, well, you lose to Villa, beat City or beat United, or draw with Villa, draw with City and beat Newcastle, you're worse off. You're literally worse off by a point. So this thing of, you know, draws do kill. In hindsight, I actually still think that's an okay point, because I don't expect that Arsenal to win 14 on the bounce. So I don't expect that. Now, the bigger question is here, of course, in terms of why this has happened and all that. We know the ifs and buts. Liverpool should win the game. By the way, Liverpool played well for the first time in a month. I thought Liverpool played well in the game, and that has to be said. I thought Liverpool played well, considering the change in style with Curtis Jones playing left wing, which is absolutely ridiculous from the manager, I think, to be honest. I also think his substitutions are absolutely ridiculous. And he's come out and explained them, which I'm happy with the explanation that he's given us, i.e. they were planned substitutions for Jota and Trent. Because I thought Liverpool were really turning the screw before he made those subs. I thought this only a matter of time. No, we just got the equaliser. I think it was like 3 or 4 minutes later, Trent gets sub. And I was like, we're just turning the screw here and he's made these subs. Doesn't make sense to me. Made us worse. But I just think we're getting to the stage a little bit, gents, where we look absolutely goosed. We look tired in games. We look fucked. Ryan Gravenberch can't run. He cannot run. And it says when you watch a back point, it's Gravenberch. You should block the cross for the second. It is Gravenberch. Trent does the right thing. He follows the winger in because his centre mid goes that way, so he follows the winger in, doing what he should do. And he can't even jog to him. He can't. And there's another part when you watch the highlights back, gents, where Bradley pulls up with his injury. It's that Matheson who just runs straight through the centre midfield, and Gravenberch looks like he's running on a fucking treadmill. He's just like that. He can't get near him. He can't get. It's like he's on the travelator on Gladiators. He's just like that. Can't even get absolute near him. And he's like, I'm like, you know, we look tired, and I knew this was going to come. I've been saying this for a long time because the manager isn't trusting the squad, and I have been having a good look today at this because I've been kind of confused when people have been telling me, well, you know, this manager rotates more and things like that, when the stats are just not in that favour at all. So, for example, Harvey Elliott this season in the Premier League has played 75 minutes. Endo's played 99 minutes in the Premier League. Kwanzaa's played 270. Kostas has played 360. Now, whether you rate these players or not, lads, these are a part of our squad. These are a part, in my opinion, are all international football players who should be playing more football. I know Harvey Elliott isn't, but that's political reasons and whatever you like. Conor Bradley, 365 minutes he's playing in the Premier League. Joe Gomez, we know what you're getting out of Joe Gomez, played 519. By the way, Joe Gomez, you know what I mean? Diogo Jota, 759 minutes he's played this season in the Premier League. Darwin Núñez has played 891, which is about 9 games full. Isn't it game? Are we on like game week 25 or something? We're like 25 games in, 27 games in, aren't we? And he's played 9 games of football. Like, are we having? He's been fit. He's been fit. He hasn't been injured. Like, okay, you could argue Gomez has been injured and Jota's been injured, but the rest haven't. The rest have been fit. You know what I mean? And we've said this for a while, you need to trust your squad. And it seems like to me, gents, that the manager is starting to even tighten his trust even more. Of like, so for example, with his comments today about Darwin in the press conference, he feels like he's completely out now. To me, that feels like, don't want to know you. Oh, and he's mentioned it's not to do with the misses. It's to do with the 20 minutes after your misses, when you were absolutely appalling. And I think it was Disasi is just absolutely strolling into our centre midfield with no press at all. Let's get this right, gents. Like, Liverpool were great in the game, but from minute 75 to minute 85, 90, we were absolutely appalling. We couldn't keep the ball. McAllister went off, and the whole fucking system went to shit. Whole midfield went to garbage. Why? If your midfield is struggling, the one thing you need is attackers putting pressure on the defenders so the fucking ball doesn't come into them. And that's what he's got. So what I'm getting really concerned over here, gents, is that he doesn't trust his squad enough. And I also think he's starting to trust less lads enough to even get him through games here. And it's a massive, massive concern here.
Brian, Cosley has a very good point, but I'm thinking in terms of the midfield. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. But you also may say that Endo might not be Slot's ideal central midfielder, but he's a bloody good defensive number 6 for a few games to give Spock Gravenberch a bit of a rest. And it is worrying, isn't it, at this stage of the game that he's decided, almost Rodgers-like, this player's for me, this player's not for me, this player's for me, this not. And it could end up cutting his own nose off despite his face, instead of, as Cozzy says, trust the squad. You only get, 13, 14, 15 more games with them. Trust them till the end, and then you can say, right, you're not for me, you're not for me, you're not for me, you're not for me. I'm going to get players that do suit what I want to do. But you'll be able to say that with a league title in your back pocket and not a near miss, because that's the danger, isn't it, if you get this wrong?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like I was saying last week about Endo. Endo is a Fabinho type player right there, where he actually goes and supports your central defenders. So I mean, he's an ideal replacement to go out there to kill off a game, and we saw that right there in the Wolves match where he basically killed off that rest of that match right there toward the end. I mean, and kind of like what Kazi was saying right there, from that minute 75 to minute, like not even really 85 to almost a 90, because they almost won the match right toward the end of that end right there. That you have to kill off these matches, and we invited the attack to come at us. I mean, along with the subs right there, why was Curtis Jones out on the left wing? I mean, that's something that baffled me. The same thing. I mean, if ideally right there you'd want Curtis Jones right there to go take over for Gravenberch or McAllister and that type of point, because I think that's where his strongest attributes are at. I mean, he's obviously doesn't replace a Szoboszlai right there, but you got to, like you said, trust your squad. I mean, it's shocking right there that Harvey Elliott doesn't have more minutes. It's I mean, I'll give you the whole thing with Bradley somewhat. I mean, because again, you're gonna want Trent to be your number one guy, but I mean, you have to have some kind of rotation. You're just wearing these guys right down to the end, and when you come up a side like Newcastle, which I think that Newcastle is going to give us a fit right there, especially if we're tired. I mean, because they have the attributes to go out there and run at us. I think that, again, I think that City right there had the thing that's going to save us with City right there is their defensive frailty. I mean, that's the thing that's going to save us them. But Newcastle right there has a chance of giving us a really big scare because, again, tired legs. I mean, and the problem is we even gave these guys a rest, but they still look tired. I mean, we didn't play them against in the cup match, in our cup matches, but they're still tired. I mean, so I don't know what's going on. This isn't a Pep Linders problem that I discussed like earlier this season right there, where he ran the shit out of them. Excuse my language, but it's like, why are we at this point now right there where we're not, like you said right there, we're clutching them into right there, whereas only these guys are trusted to be on the pitch and not everybody throughout your entire squad. I mean, I'm just as baffled as everybody else is. I mean, again, it goes back to this is still Klopp's side. I understand that, but these are your players. You have to come there and play them.
Well, let me ask why Pep Linders gets all the blame for the fitness stuff when it was Cormoyer who was the fitness coach. Poor Pep he was the technical coach. Poor bastard can't get any credit for anybody.
As soon as you start fucking writing books when you're a fucking coach.
Yeah, there you go. That's why none of us four are writing the ASTV book, just so we know. We'll keep our credibility that way. Susie, here's my question. I am old enough to remember campaigns pre-Premier League. When the game wasn't as fast and as athletic, but it was still a trudge. It was still a slog through 60-odd games a season for Liverpool, and there was always a physical dip, and then miraculously, almost like a second wind for a boxer in the 6th or 7th round, we'd find. Although to be fair, we used to have to get transfers in March. Everybody remember that? That was some great days. You could boost your team in March.
You signed Heskey in a March, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, you could boost your team. Like you get that nice little adrenaline rush for your team. Although we did also do it with David Speedy, I think, or Jimmy Carter, one of those.
Oh,
David Speedy. He was a lovely man. Not a great forward, but but he was bald like us. That's why he gets in the club. But to see, is there a chance that Slot underestimated the intensity of the Premier League and didn't tailor the fitness towards English football and was maybe, thinking more of the Dutch league, which is not as intense as the English league, and certainly not a big club like Liverpool where you've got games every 3 days? Because it sounded like during one of the interviews, I think before the Villa game, where he was almost doing what Klopp did in the early days. He was always like, we have a game we have a game 2 days after this one. Do these people not do the research before they come into the league?
It's hard to tell. I mean, I like him, and I don't know, maybe because he has some issues with him, but I think it's because Klopp's kind of getting unfairly criticised. But we're in February, and for a manager that no one had any expectations for, and everyone thought that we are going to have this big seismic drop off from Klopp to anyone else coming in. We're top of the league, and we've only lost one game. And yes, we've drawn a few, but we're still top of the league. Whether we stumbled into it or whatever, it is what it is. I mean, you look at our competition, you look at Arsenal. Arteta's been there how many years? How much has he spent? They got lucky with injuries last year, and they still couldn't get it over the line. And we're just fortunate that Man City have become the team that we were when we won the league, or the year after we won the league, where we did this complete drop off. So that being said, I understand what Kazi is saying about not trusting the squad, but is that on Slot, or is that on the quality of players that we believe were once upon a time good? It's I like Elliot, but we're looking. With Slot, he doesn't mince his words, and he doesn't hide behind. He doesn't. You ask him a question, and he'll answer you directly, and which is what he did with Darwin yesterday. So obviously, seeing something in training where he thinks someone like Nunes is a better choice than Chiesa, and I don't think Chiesa was Slot's spy. I think it was just that was a business decision. $12 million, £12 million, and you really can't go wrong. But yeah, his lineup yesterday, I think for one of the first times, it was questionable with his positioning, and with Jones playing on left. We all thought Sabaza was going to play on the left, and Jota down the middle and Salah on the right. So that was a bit confusing. But he sticks to his guns. Like Kazi said, the subs were planned, and I think he's still learning on the job. But he's learning on the job. But we've only lost one game, and we're still top of the league. And and that's not. There might be Klopp's players or whatever, no, but he didn't come in and make this whole change of where he's let his ego get in the way, and it's like he wants this, he wants that. We saw the fall off from Ferguson. We saw the fall off from Wenger. There wasn't a fall off, and with Slot, he's only tweaked things where he hasn't made these wholesale changes where like Hasunas did after he took over from Dalglish. Now it was just a big ass drop of it and let his ego get in the way, and that's what I like about Slot. And he still gives credit to Klopp. He hasn't, he hasn't come in and said this is my way and this is what I've done. He still gives credit to Klopp. I think next season obviously is going to be a big change. But like I say, him not trusting the squad, I think that's more on the players and what they're showing than Slot himself. I think this is the first time where, that I already thought up until last couple of weeks that we're going to do the Champions League and Premier League double. But I think that might be a bit of a stretch, just going by what I've seen last couple of weeks.
Can I follow on from that, though, Matt, right? Because I think it's important, because he brings up some good points. I'm not arguing. I've said this for ages about Slot. He's going to learn on the job. We know this. But the difference that all of us as fans have had, and he hasn't, we've ridden this roller coaster before. We've seen the ride, gents.
I broke it.
Right? We've seen what it's like when you go deep in these competitions. We've seen what it does to your squad. And if you don't use these players and give them more minutes, by the way, it's a bit too late in the season now to start doing this. This is the kind of fall off that you get. If he didn't think that Gravenberch was going to have a fall off after 2 years of basically no footy, then he's incredibly naive. Because I don't think he's stupid. I think he must be incredibly naive to think that Gravenberch wouldn't need a couple of weeks here and there. He's just been absolutely run into the ground, and now he looks like he can't run anymore. So there is that. Now, this thing about, of course, I'm not arguing what Slot's done. Slot has done a tremendous job, by the way. Tremendous. I'm not taking any away from him. But the season isn't over yet. That's one thing we need to realise as well. The season is not over yet. Number two, how bad was last season? Last season, you could write a book on itself, what happened to Liverpool last season, right? Slot's only 1 point better off than Klopp was at this stage last year. 1. We had Luis Diaz's parents be kidnapped. Every single fucker injured. Everyone was injured at one point. And he was getting tunes out of Bobby Clark and Basheshich not getting us over. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's a bad man. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, fella, I've seen the end of this movie and I don't like the ending. The difference is now, though, when we now started to notice the tiredness kicking in, Liverpool have an 8-point lead, which I've never seen before. When Liverpool won the league, by the way, we were fucking 1,000,000 points clear at this point. I don't even care.
Yeah.
It doesn't even count. That's when we clocked football for the year. But the other seasons when we're chasing City, we haven't had an 8-point lead. I do not expect Liverpool to be running over the finish line. I think if Liverpool win this league title, we'll be crawling over that finish line. And there'll be a lot more stinky, horrible games like Wolves that will win Liverpool this league. If Liverpool win another Premier League game by 3 clear goals this season, I'll be amazed. Amazed. Even against Southampton and all. Amazed. Because if you... Andy Robertson's a great example. Andy Robertson, yes, he didn't stop running. I've been saying he's been finished for ages. Costa Simicast can't get a game. That's why I've said in the post-match to the game that Plymouth game has done more damage than you think in that manager. Because now he's tightened the vices even more on who we can trust. Because now he knows he can't trust Costas and he can't trust Chiesa. The difference is, and this is what annoyed me yesterday, by the way, gents, and this is something that's really pissed me off about the manager yesterday. He's okay swapping and changing Diaz's role, isn't he? Oh, you can play now. Play left wing. Okay, you can play the now for 3 weeks. Now you can go back to left wing and all that, right? And Diaz basically played Diaz out of form, if you want to say that. Because sometimes you can do that as a manager, you can play someone out of form. Well, why can't he throw Darwin Núñez left wing? Why can't he throw Jota left wing? Well, no, you can just play number 9 now. Why, in case you stink the gaff out for an hour? Well, Paul Curtis-Jones there, off the ball, stunk the gaff out for an hour. On the ball, he was tremendous, by the way. Absolutely tremendous, Curtis was. But off the ball, he stunk the gaff out because he's not that type of player. And they had a field day against them. I just don't see where you can't go to a forward. He said he has to manage Diaz's minutes. Why? You sent him to left wing at Plymouth, fella. You did that. You sent him to Plymouth. Like, you rested everyone else, but you sent him to Plymouth. This is why I'm starting to develop a frustration with it all. That's all, gents. We have 12 games to go from. By the way, I think Liverpool still win the league. Because I thought we win all our home games, we'll probably win the league, just winning the home games. But, my God, you need to trust other players to do other things. You just have to. You have to. We are at the stage now. We're one sentence away from doing Jallo Quanta right back for the end of the season. Because this thing up, Bradley might be out for 2-3 games. Do you want to rush Bradley back? Because I don't know about you, lads, and I mentioned this in the post-match. He picks up a lot of muscle injuries, you know. Bradley loves a knock, doesn't he? He loves a knock. So it's like, do you want to rush him back? And by the way, Jallo Quanta's going to play fullback. Yeah, that would have been easier if you would have played him a few home fucking football matches. Do you know what I mean? It would have been easier to go, okay, now let's trust this back. So I get it. It's hard for the manager, but he's learning. But as I say, and I'll go back to it, I've seen the ending of this movie and I don't like it.
Let's do this. Let's move on to the next before we go at the press. Thanks, Cozzy. I'm kidding. I
still think we're in the league.
That's be fair. Yeah, that's true. But it's not going to be the
we're going to draw.
We would hope for, because it'd be nice to have a victory parade thing other than
we might draw. We might draw or beat Arsenal, and that's when we'll win the league. Because they mathematically won't be enough. They'll be on our tail until that game, I think.
And Spencer Stewart, good to see you again, Spencer, every week. Our number one fan, literally our number one fan, as in our only one.
Is he bored?
Probably, if he's cool.
You gotta subscribe to Spencer's OnlyFans to find that out.
After playing 7 out of the last 3 games at Anfield, so that's encouraging at least. But we also have European games, and we've come to the end of the experiment of the super hyper global mega Champions League thing, Brian, as seen by the 3 trophies here, and then Gordo Lee's, our own Gordo's bugbear there, new soccer balls. But here's my question, and I didn't even remember there was games on today because it's a busy life. Shamrock Rovers went out of a European knockout round on penalties to Molde, which is a huge, it doesn't sound big, but for an Irish League club, which is not professional, it's entirely semi-professional to get that far for the first time, I think, in the history of the European competition. Like that's fantastic thing, but they probably wouldn't have got that far if it was still in the group stages. Celtic came out of that Bayern Munich with a huge amount of credit. Seconds away from taking minutes away, probably. From taking that game into extra time. The threadbareness of the Scottish League being laid bare for everybody to see. There was nothing wrong with the performance, but the difference in who you could bring off from the bench to win the game was very stark. But what is your opinion, and Sir Z's and Cosy, what is your opinion of the first year of the experimental Super League format?
Well, after coming from the knockout stages, I enjoyed it. I think this is probably so much better than the actual group stages that we used to have. I mean, it seems like there's a lot more competition and so a lot more chances right there for sides to go there to progress. I mean, look at PSV yesterday. I mean, against Juventus. I mean, that was amazing. If win for a Dutch side right there. Feyenoord, the same thing. I mean, there's no Serie A side anymore in the Champions League. So that just tells you something like that any club right there can actually go. Has a chance of beating somebody in a one-off or in a home and away leg. So I mean, I enjoyed it. I think the fans got what they wanted right there. They got a real competition right there, which gives the underdog that chance. I mean, because again, all it takes is one match right there to get 3 points. And the same thing would happen with like City, who barely scraped by and then got their ass stomped in there yesterday. I mean, so these are things right there that you want to see. You want to see teams, and unfortunately, see Real Madrid, but you want to see teams go there and actually beat these multi-million pound sides right there. You want to see this stuff like that. So it could be. We could have the storybook ending on this right there because again you still have Feyenoord and PSV mixed in this mix right there through there. So there could be possibly a Dutch side. You still have Benfica mixed in there. So these aren't super rich clubs right there. That a lot of these clubs are considered feeder clubs to the big leagues, and for them to actually go out there and progress this far. This is lifeblood to them. I mean, I think it's fantastic.
Now, let me just stop everything there. Spencer's a baldy, everybody. Spencer's a baldy. He's one of us. He's one of the cool kids. So, Zay, here's my question. The fact that so many, certainly so many Serie A teams have not done as well, and the fact that Bayern Munich could have reasonably been knocked out had Celtic had a bit more fitness to them. Because I listened to the game on the radio.
Home was unlucky.
They just ran out of legs, essentially. But it reminds me an awful lot of the actual old school European Cup, like where somebody like Nottingham Forest had a chance to win because it was one and done. You could actually structure your entire strategy for the season around beating teams over 2 legs to get to the final. I hear the comment on Sirius, whatever you call it, XFM FC. I think might be either Eric Winalda or whoever his co-presenter is. I want to see the best teams. That's what you want to see. You want to see the best teams in the knockout stages. And I don't. Am I crazy? I want to see the underdog do something. I want to see Real Madrid taking down a peg or 10. Even if if Liverpool are to go out of a competition, I'd like to go out to Molde or someone like that who goes on to win it shockingly, or Malmo or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you want to go out and be part of that story. But to play like we did in the 2000s, like Chelsea every bloody season, Barcelona every bloody season, it actually gets wearing. So for me, do you think this brings back that old school romanticism of the smaller teams managing to bust the nose and bloody the nose of the bigger ones?
Kind of. I mean, it's the caveat here is that no one knew what to expect, and to Slot's credit, he put a full strength team out every game, and he bought us the luxury of not having to go in the playoffs. So whether that was by design or whether that was just like through pride of wanting to win every game, and bearing in mind who we beat, Leverkusen, 4-0, we beat Madrid, Anfield. So we obviously, from a bias point of view, this is great. But the other good thing is that whereas previous seasons, whoever finished bottom or whoever finished who didn't qualify for the next stage dropped down to the Europa League, which I think was unfair because like they're getting double rewarded. You know, you're getting rewarded for being in the Champions League, and well, you're too crap to be in here. We're going to reward you financially to be in the league belowhand. I think that was unfair for the other clubs out in the Europa League. So I'm glad they got away with that. Did away with that. I think money gripe is that there's no reward for coming top. You know, I think whoever comes top should play the worst team who go through, like seeded wise. Otherwise, you know, there's no what's the reward of coming first, second, or third in this, you know, in that league. You know, you've got to have like some kind of reward. In terms of going out to a smaller club, obviously, I never want to go out to any club. You know, even Plymouth still hurts, but it's, you know, but yeah, I mean, for the neutral, it's great. But I think now these teams are going to wisen up for next season, and I don't think Madrid are going to take these games as easy as they did this season. And I think the bigger teams are going to be like that. I don't think Bayern Munich are going to take it easy. I don't think Manchester City are going to take it easy. I think they're going to learn from this season. So I think we'll see a different kind of performance next season.
Cosby, do you agree with that, or do you think that the format of not having home and away games against opponents and having 7 different opponents, that kind of evens it out a little bit more than the group stages did?
Yes, I do agree with Sergi massively. I think a lot of the big clubs are going to learn a lesson here. Massively learn a lesson. Man City have learned a lesson, trust me. You can't be arsed on Real Madrid right now. You want to finish in the top 8. Real Madrid probably learned that lesson. Bayern Munich have learned that lesson. They will all get their shit together for next season, thinking we can't even take a chance. The last thing that they want is, if you're Bayern Munich, is to draw Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool, anything like that in a weird last 32 kind of game. In terms of like, or not, I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a lot fairer than the old group stages, i.e., if you're in pot 4, you're allowed to play other pot 4 teams. And you know you can become the best of your pot 4 team. So, for example, I think someone like a Dortmund with a pot 2 team, they could get plum draws in the old format. They could draw an FC Zurich and a Young Boys. You know what I mean? And then go, well, we just whack them 2, we're fine. But it doesn't work like that anymore because you've got to play against other pot 1 and pot 2 teams, which I think makes it fairer. There's no rhyme or reason why Liverpool, I'm saying Liverpool because I'm a fan here, is in pot 1. And then you get to whack 3 teams that you're better than. Just whack them. Like, I think now it's actually fairer, and it gives more chance for the pot 4 teams to go, actually, if we become the best in our pot, steal 4 points from the pot 3 team, we might be in the top 8. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a lot fairer than the older formats. So, and also I think it's given us a lot more enjoyment, a little bit of controversy there. You know what I mean? I was the happiest guy in the world when Atalanta got thrown out. That was fucking beautiful. Can I be asked playing them anymore? Absolutely not, gents. So, yeah, I mean, listen, it's going to be a work in progress, but I do agree with Sergi. I do think there will be something for the team that finishes first. I've got a feeling there might be a buy to the last 8. That's what I think they're going to do eventually. I think they're going to buy you for the last 8. Because what you can do there, you can stick a team in. You can buy it. I think you can. I'm not sure how it would work. I'm assuming that you could even open up the bracket even more, maybe, and add another 2 in. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but I just don't think. What else can you do for the team who finishes top? What else can you give them apart from a buy for a round? Or, as he said, you play the weakest team, or maybe every single second leg's at home. Maybe. That's the only thing you can do in it. I'm not sure what else you can do. So, yeah, but I've really enjoyed it, and I hope they stick with it.
Let me ask you, boys, by thumbs up or thumbs down, are we happy with it, yay or nay?
Yay.
Let's give it another year to see who manages to game the system next year. Probably Newcastle. So here's what we're gonna do, because we have to do it because it's fantastic, and we get to get the controversy. It's Room 433. It's general this week. It's whatever topic soccer related. So
can you just, for our viewers listening here, who was the first entry into Room 433 before the Villa game? Can you let people know?
Nunes.
The first one to not get one into 4-3-3 or to get one into 4-3-3 was what was his name? It's that guy from Liverpool. No, I can't remember.
No. Well, his name is Darwin Nunes for the gents listening.
Yes, that's the one.
He was the first ever entry into our room 4-3-3.
Spencer was paying attention. Our one fan. Thanks, Spencer. We appreciate that. He was before the Villa game as well, because we were right on that. But here's for anybody who hasn't seen it before, it's like Room 101, but for soccer, from George Orwell and BBC Two. If you used to watch BBC Two on Monday nights and Thursday nights sometimes, back in the day across the Atlantic. So the lads will get to pick a topic or person or club or incident or whatever that they want to consign to room 433 forever, but they have to make their case and they have to make it convincingly. And if they don't get their choice put into room 433, they have to keep it forever and ever and ever in a drawer somewhere next to their illicit magazines. So I think we started with Brian last week, didn't we? So we'll start with Cozzy this week. Cozzy, what is your entry this week for room 433? And you're looking gleeful there, so it better be a good one.
Right. This is something that's been annoying me for a while. And it is actually stats. I am fed up of stats-based football. I am absolutely fed up of it. I don't mind goals and assists. I can swallow goals and assists, right? But when I hear things like, oh, his pressures in the final third, oh, his sprints over 90, oh, his one-on-one defense. I can watch a game of footy with my eyes. I can watch it. I know who's a good footy player or not. The one that got me, that's been rearing its ugly head in the last 18 months, pre-assists. Oh, my God. Pre-assists. So what you're telling me is a midfielder? Is that what you're telling me what this is? This is called a midfielder. Okay, cool. Got a guy who passes the ball. All of stats like that. Football's got so confusing. It's so ridiculous that people try and use these stats to justify if a player's played well. I was expecting to see one about Darwin Nunes after Villa when I wanted to fucking strangle him because he had 4 pressures in the final third or something like that. I'm not interested. Go back to basics. I want to not watch football without all these weird stat nerds and lying around.
Let me see, Brian, do you have any rebuttal or agreement to that?
Oh, I'm completely in agreement right there. This is some Billy Bean shit right there that happened right there from baseball right there that transferred over into football. I'm tired of not only what he just said, but ground to pitch covered. That's another one I'm tired of hearing about. I'm tired of hearing sprint. Definitely tired of hearing about. You know, it's just it's enough. I'm watching the game. I don't need to go there. I don't need to see all this. I don't care about stats. Only stat I care about is 3 points. You know, assists, sure. Goals scored, sure. Misses, sure. But these other things are just ruining the game. And and really honestly, what it goes back to. It goes back to this, and I know some people play this crap. It all goes back to fantasy football stuff like that. And it all goes back to people who are out of not enjoying matches by sitting there watching what players do, how they cover, what they do, and stuff like that to get an extra point so they can gamble a little bit better. I mean, and that's all this crap's going down to. So yeah, I'm fully in agreement. Throw that crap right in the room and be gone with it.
So Z, what say you on stats?
No, I agree. I don't even know why it's a thing. Even XG, expected goals. What does that mean? Like, and all it does is just give commentators that classic line. Well, the only stat that matters is this score. Well, yeah, it does. That's the only score that matters. No one gives a shit. I really don't care. An expected goal. Was it a goal? No, I don't care. I don't know whether it was just a thing to entice American viewers or whatever. It's just simple. It's a simple game. It has to be something conducted by players' agents or whatever, or Macka Edwards is in charge of it, and that's how he's going to buy his players. It's just stupid. That can definitely go in. I've got no rebuttal against that.
Right. So let me be devil's advocate before.
It's not game changing though. I don't think it ruins the game. It just ruins. I think it ruins the support. It's just stupid. I don't think it ruins a game now.
Okay. Let me play devil's advocate. And caveat at first by saying that I have worked in soccer stats, albeit at a very low level, and have done courses on it, and I can see both sides of the argument. But here's a story I love to tell because it actually gets told on British and Irish coaching courses a lot. Jack Charlton doing his first English badge, the old senior badge or whatever it was called in the 60s and their 70s, and he was in the coaching course with like Nobby Stiles and Bobby Charlton was there, and Norman Hunter, and I think there was, I want to say it was one of the Liverpool players like Callaghan or something like that. You know, they all had to just go and do these things during their off season, and it was Don Howe, I believe, was the course instructor. And he said they were all playing like a game, like they just, you know, they did their class and they go out and they play a game so they can go over the points. And he said, I'm going to give you all a fruit. He went around, he said, Jack Charlton, you're apple. Nobby Stiles, you're orange. Ian Callaghan, you're strawberry. Just remember your fruit. And then they went out and played for like 30 minutes or something like that. Then he brought them back in. He said, right, sit down. What fruit did I give you? And none of them could remember. They remember one thing before they played out for 30 minutes and then couldn't remember afterwards. And the point was is that our eyes sometimes lie. Our memories definitely like mix up information. So my devil's advocate point is sometimes the stats can't clarify, you know, like people saying, well, we had 60% possession, so we must have played well. Yeah, but we only had one shot on target and we missed it. You know, what's the point of the possession? So here's what I'm going to do for you, Cozzy. I'm going to see if you want to change it, not from stats, but how stats are used to win arguments.
No, I'm sticking with all stats, Mac.
And then it's not going in.
The obvious one. Goals and assists is fine. Is possession a stat? Is that, I suppose it is. Is on target shot a stat? I suppose. But it just seems very common of what happened in the football match. I'm talking when people break down the ins and outs. Do you know what I mean? Well, Kostas Tsimikas had a fucking
statistical minutiae. You mean?
Yeah, like they're just breaking down things that I can look at with my eyes.
Yeah.
So I seen someone. I literally after the game, and this is why it really frustrated me, was like, Darwin Núñez like missed like a 0.89 xG of a chance, and I'm like, I know it's a good chance. I watched the fucking game. It's an open goal. If there's no keeper in the goal, Mac, and you're standing in front of it and you've missed a good chance. I don't need a fucking stat nerd to tell me that it was a fucking good chance or not.
Here's where I'm going to agree with you on that, because like people like to say that the XG, whatever it is, XPG used to be XPG, didn't it, at the very beginning?
Yeah. Points per game, I think.
Tells you the difficulty of the shot based on its location and only its location. I think they have added in like the number of defenders, but it never takes into account who's taking the bloody shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Harry Kane in that position scores that goal yesterday against Villa.
All these weird stat nerds who've got online, who've got on Sky Sports News and all these little weird things breaking. Listen, lads, go out and kiss a girl. Just go out and meet a girl and start kissing girls. Because fuck me, you are the most boring people I've ever met.
With their consent, Cozzy, with their consent.
Please,
let's get
that. The most boring people I have ever met. Honestly, I can watch a game of footy. I know if a lad's half decent or not. I've watched thousands of games. Thousands. And the one that really, XG's up there, but the one that is number one on the list is the pre-assist. Oh my God.
Isn't that like a second assist in hockey or something like that? Isn't that that's called?
The pre-assist is a midfielder. You've just passed the ball to a striker who's back to his mate and he scored. And you go, he's just a midfielder. That's what they do. Like, I don't get it. All stats, weird stat nerds are going in room 433, Macka.
I think I'm going to let you have that one today. I think you're 2 for 2 now at this point. Well done, Cozzy.
We haven't even heard Brian or says these options, have we?
Yeah, we haven't got things yet. But we're going to go now. Susie, what is your room 433 entry for this week? And you got to make it a good one.
Mine is managerial
people who complain about stats.
Yeah. No, mine's managerial movements or firings. Mid-season. I think managers shouldn't be allowed to be moved or fired unless it's in the transfer window. Just like players, you have to have your players August 31st. That's what you're registered with. Come January, and it doesn't matter if the player's crap or not, you're stuck with them until January. and you play with what you have, and you should do that with managers. I think this managerial changes, it will save a lot of money for clubs. It will save. It just doesn't make sense. If your players are what you have up until the next transfer window, you should have to do that with the managers, and that way you're not stealing someone else's manager from another club. You're stuck with what you're stuck with, and this is what you have.
Let me play devil's advocate again. If that was the case, Nottingham Forest wouldn't be in the top 4 right now.
Well done to them.
You make your bed, you lie in it, right?
Okay. I don't want to rebuttal this, right? Because I actually quite like the idea.
Yeah, that's a very good idea, Susie. It's a very good idea.
You should be punished for making a bad decision to the board and the ownership in the summer. You decided that was the fucking fella. How is it 6 weeks later that he's not the fella? You decided 6 weeks ago he was the fella. So if you're just doing it by Christmas or January, let's say, you've had 4 months of the season, you've had a good look at the guy, I suppose you can make a decision then. You know what, Susie? I'm all right with it. I'm okay with it. Because I do think sometimes, like Frank de Boer got fucked off after Palace after like 5 games, didn't he? I think Brendan Rodgers got sacked in November. Liverpool changed all his backroom staff, signed Christian Benteke, and then gone in November. You know what? I'm going to agree with Susie. I like it. Brian,
what do you think?
I kind of like the idea too, right there. Hey, you know what? You made your bed, lie in it. So if there's a problem right there that you have with this, your board made this decision. Hey, guess what? Live with it for 6 months right there and see what happens. So yeah, I'm good with it. I think look at teams like Chelsea right there that changed the amount of managers they changed in like a short period of time. Through there. So yeah, absolutely. Go ahead right there. Actually, I'll even go better. You have to do the whole season with them right there, and do a whole 1 year. make it really suffer right there. So hey, guess what? Only summer transfer window right there. Deal with it. Deal with your choices.
I want to rebuttal that one. I tell you why. I reckon the West Ham fans would have fucking petrol bombed Lopetegui's house by now. I reckon it was honestly, I reckon it was better for all that he was gone.
But let me just throw in another fly in the ointment. If we had that rule, we would have been stuck with Roy Hodgson.
With the Roy. And I was on the game then. It was a laugh.
No, we got rid of him in January, right? So, look at Man United.
No, I'm talking about Brian's rule for the whole season. We would have been stuck at Roy Hodgson.
Yeah. I'll take my rule back.
Ryan's rebuttal was only rebuttal.
The only concern I have is that the Italian leagues and Watford would not know what to do for a year because they change their managers every week. What would they do?
Udinese and Watford are absolutely fucked, aren't they? No, they've no idea where they're going. Yeah. I like it.
Spencer says Roman always changed managers more than he did his underwear when he was running Chelsea, and he wore silk underwear as well. Do you know what, Susie? I'm going to give you that. I think that's a good idea. Managers changing not even mid-season, but mid-season. I think that's going in room 4-3-3. Well done, my friend. Brian, what is your choice this week?
Okay, so my call right there is ending of the replay matches in the FA Cup. I have really serious problems with that because I think it kind of tarnished the entire cup with giving these small clubs the opportunity to go there to go on away matches to bigger clubs above them right there. So when the FA got rid of that with this, I think it kind of is like played down. I understand their point of doing the fixture congestion and stuff like that, but if you want to go out there and push and romanticize the FA Cup, it's all about the underdog. And by taking this out right there for, say, a Crawley Town going up against a Manchester United right there, they get that draw out of there, and they should be rewarded to go out there and go for that next fixture right there to actually go play there and to a bigger ground or to bring Manchester United to their ground right there. So I think scrapping these replays really has kind of taken back the cup a lot.
Cosy, what do you say?
I'm going to say let Sergi go first because fuck me, I have got a big thing on this. Sergi, you can go first.
No, I wouldn't put it in. I think with the lower clubs, I think we should give them a choice of where they want to play, just to be nice. But no, I don't. The replays, obviously speaking, as a big club fan, it's just an extra game that we don't need. And yeah, I'm all for grassroots football and so forth, but really, at the end of the day, I only care about my club. I really don't care about the lower league clubs. And that's just how it is. You want to support Enfield Town or Barry Village or whatever. That's on you. It's I think they should be better compensated by the FA, but I don't think it should come as an expense of our players getting injured. So no.
Do you think maybe one way to do it would be to give them the greater part of the purse from the television? Something like that.
No, give them the television rights or whatever, but not injure our players now.
Cosby, go ahead. We've only got 4 hours left in the night, so go ahead. I'll give you 3.
Against replays, it's a joke. It was never needed anyway. And this thing about romanticising the cup, I know everyone brings up Tamworth this year because Tamworth threw with Spurs, and then Spurs put on their big players and beat them. Do you know what happened the round before, gents? Tamworth played Burton and beat them on pens to play Spurs. Do you know what would have happened if the replay would have happened? Burton would have whacked them because Burton are like 4 leagues ahead of them. It's easier for a fucking lower league team.
Actually, Burton wouldn't have because Burton's been pretty bad on form.
But I mean, 4 or 5
I'm not smart then now.
Right? It's easier for a lower league team to beat them over 90. Now, what they should do is get rid of extra time and go straight to pens. That's what should happen. So it's easier for Tamworth to win a penalty shootout than it is the extra 30 minutes of extra time. It's easier to go, you know what, we've worked really hard here. We got to the 19, we can have a shootout against Spurs. If we bury our pens, they miss theirs, we're through. I think that's easier. This thing about romanticising the cup, by the way, I love the FA Cup. It's a tremendous trophy. It's amazing. But football has evolved. It has evolved. It's not what it was 35 years ago. Why is it that we, as the Premier League clubs, and I'm not really the says here, but I agree with him a little bit. Why is it because you get the lucky enough to put your hand in a silk bag to get your number pulled out that your club can survive for 5 years? So that's a bigger conversation altogether. And we drew Liverpool 5 years ago, so we're funded for 5 years. No. You should be funded anyway. The money from the Premier League should be filtering down to these clubs anyway. It should be filtered down. But that's a completely separate conversation. You shouldn't be relied on drawing one of us to keep your club afloat. That shouldn't be.
We know Cosby's entry for next week's 4-3-3 anyway.
Replays are so outdated. I remember, mate, they were deciding replays in the 70s over a coin toss, deciding the FA Cup and shit. What are we dealing with? Football has changed. Get rid of the extra times. That happens. By the way, it's only the third round, by the way, where the replays are gone. I think it is only the third round where the replays are gone. So I think you do have 4th round replays. If you have replays, you wouldn't have got that unbelievable claim between United and Arsenal. Unbelievable game of football. Do you know why? Because they would have just dug in. No one would have threw any things and we'll take our replay. Especially United. We'll get you back at Old Trafford. No. We got one of the best FA Cup ties in years. Years was that game. I just think it's an absolutely appalling thing. I do agree with you a little bit. Let's get rid of extra time in the third round. Go straight to pens because I do think Tamworth could beat Spurs over pens instead of the extra time.
So, Brian, you want no replays to be put into room 4-3-3.
Okay, so let me go reboot. I guess I can go there and rephrase it right there because it goes along with what Kasi said right there. So the amount of money that trickles down right there to your second division, first division clubs right there, and even to the national, even to like your conference clubs right there, it's so minimal right now that you have clubs that are folding left and right because they can't make do. So there's really a travesty right there to the entire game right there, to the entire sport right there to have it to be in this situation where local ground clubs are folding left and right. I mean, with this. So and yet I'm going there and watching a Chelsea club spend our Manchester City spent 190 million pounds in one transfer window, which could probably go there and basically fund almost the entire second division and probably most of the first division all in one shot. So that more or less is why I came up with the replays right there. Is these opportunities right there to go back in and get the actual grounds money, or maybe like as Sir Z said, that they get the entire pot with them when they play the Premiership, because they don't need that. The Premiership doesn't need the money from the FA Cup with these rounds. The entire pot goes to lower league right there. It's if that's over with, if that happened a chance right there, then that's my reason for saying the replays give that opportunity to them because the system is broken as it is right now.
Yeah.
I don't think you make an unfair point there at all, but it's a separate point. The replays do add more games, so unfortunately, Brian, you're going to have to hold on to that.
So I'm going to play replays for an entire.
That was the Everton fans.
That was me yesterday when Darwin missed.
Is that that new seat right there? The new Everton's new stadium?
That was the Everton's new stadium. That's where we got that sound effect from. So unfortunately, Brian, you got to hold on to the lack of replays for another year at least. But we have more for Room 433 next week.
What about you, Macka?
Oh, no, I don't get one. I'm the judge. I don't get one.
Okay.
So who was entered Room 433 this week, Macka?
Huh?
Who was entered Room 433? Who was our second?
You and Suzy.
So we're getting two options.
Yeah, you got 2, 1, and 0, Brian. Come on, Brian. Come on. Put that social justice hat on. Well, let's talk about this now for the weekend. Manchester City against Liverpool. City could either be the same shambles boys as they have been all season, or they could be the wounded animal that commentators wish they would be. Although we did hear an interesting thing today from Rodney Marsh. I don't know why I'm listening to so much Rodney Marsh these days, but he's so damn entertaining. That maybe with the knockout at the Champions League, and if he does badly here against us on the weekend, especially as it's a home game for them, that he starts to think his time is up at Manchester City. And I said City there like an American. I should be banned. I should throw myself into Room 433 now for that alone. But Cozzy, how do you see this game going? Two teams that are licking their wounds a little bit and are looking to get into a little bit of better form. But do we have enough to beat this City team? Do City have enough to knock us down and make us have a rethink?
Depends how injured Haaland is. Didn't fancy it, did he, against Real Madrid? You didn't want to know, the old lad. I think Carragher said it was Antonio Rudiger-itis that he had, which is kind of funny. So, can Liverpool? Yes, Liverpool can beat Manchester City. Like, Manchester City are dead in the knees. After 75, especially, they are dead in the knees. But it's if Liverpool want to beat Manchester City, and I phrased that by saying, I don't feel like from the 75th minute onwards that our manager wanted to twist. I think he was happy with his point. I think sometimes you need to twist as a manager. He did it against Fulham at home when we were down to 10 and he twisted big. Pulled on after the striker, 4 strikers we had up front. We're down to 10 men and went for it. Liverpool can do that. Liverpool can beat this team. But I just think with the midfield as it is right now, with the lack of legs, he needs to make a big decision on midfield. On one midfielder, Ryan Gravenberch. Is it now the rest? Now? Or do you go to him? You can get another 90 out of him based on his last 3 performances, which have been poor, really poor. Wolves, Everton and Villa, really bad. And get Curtis Jones centre midfield. The problem is if you do Jones and Macka, it's a very small midfield. They're very small physically in stature. So, difficult choice. The manager has I think that this could be the manager's biggest game he's had up to now in terms of is picking his 11. I think he's had bigger games. I think Everton away would be his biggest game. The last ever Goodison Park derby. Until he gets to the League Cup final, that's his biggest game. In terms, I think this is the hardest game he's had to pick for. I think is this 11 right now.
Let me ask you this, Cozzy, before I go to the two lads. Do you think that maybe against Villa he didn't twist because he wanted to give himself the option to be able to do so against City?
I think if you have Villa where you had them with their defence, you should have twisted then. And then kind of give yourself a free hit against City because you've got the win on the board. Now it feels like first of all, again, I will not lose my head over a point at City as long as you beat Newcastle. Because I keep saying this, I think 5 out of those 3 games is actually a pass. I think it's okay. I think it's par, basically. I think if you get any more than 5 points, it's like a birdie. Do you know what I mean? You're like, okay, this is really good. Now we're in utopia if you get 7 points, for example. But I just don't know what he does, gents. I am seriously confused on this game. Are you going Robertson again? Again? Okay, so we all probably agree that we have to do Robertson if we have this chat right now. Let's just say we're picking 11 between us. Are we all doing Robertson? Okay. We're all doing, Virg is definitely, Canate is a definite. Trent now has to play, no matter what he's playing, because you need to know it. Are you doing Gravenberch?
I do Endo.
I personally wouldn't, but I think if you listen to Slot's press conference today, and he was asked that question, and he said, like, Gravenberch is young. You're not going to get a 9 or 10 out of performance from every week, and that he's not tired. He's just lack of form, or he hasn't matured enough to give you 9 or 10 out of performances every week. So I think he plays Gravenberch again.
I do Gravenberch in this match right there, but Endo against Newcastle.
Yeah, it might not even be Endo. You can drop Curtis Jones back there. He's been really good back there.
Or Curtis Jones.
Do you know what I mean? And then you do McAllister alongside. Mark has to play. Szoboszlai has to play because we haven't got no one else who can do the Szoboszlai thing. He's probably going to do Diaz because Cody might be fit. But Diaz didn't play against Villa because he said there's his fitness. Are you doing Jota?
Yeah.
Are you rolling out Jota? Like, this is the argument here because we know what happened with Forest. He rolls him out for 90 minutes against Accrington, and 4 days later he pulls a muscle against Forest. He's out for 6 weeks. So I just think, but he's pulled him off after the hour though, Brian. That's what I'm saying. That's where it's like it all. I don't know. That's what I'm saying about this. This is his hardest 11 he's had to pick. Do you know what I mean? This is a really tough one, I think.
Brian, what do you say?
Okay, so I agree with you. I think that number 9 spot's like the hardest one to choose out of this whole thing right there because I watched Jota come there, miss some. Jota, like Sir Z said earlier, Jota came there is just as culpable right there for this match right there with that. I mean, with against that we watched against Villa because I mean again. An easy shot miss. I mean, we complain about Darwin. Darwin did the same thing. So, I mean, so that's the thing. As much as I don't like Diaz as a number 9, I think right now if Gapco's healthy right there, you basically have to put Diaz at a number 9 spot because I think it actually works out better. It works better than actually than Jota or Nunez at the moment. But as far as City go, I think City goes – I think the Akanji injury and the Stones injury is pretty harsh on them right there. And I mean, now you're going to bring out this young kid right there who basically he's probably going to start the defender they just bought. He's going to start, and he looked like he had what looked like he was going to go home and cry after his first opening minutes with City. So I think that's going to be a very thing that happened. I think the Marmoush matchup is going to be fascinating to watch and see exactly how that plays out. Because I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Robertson because that's on Robertson's side, correct? That he's playing.
Yeah.
I think he plays more 10, maybe. He might play him more 10, but yeah, usually.
I mean, if Holland's out, he probably will play as probably more inside right there because you have to have somebody to have that type of offense right there. But I mean. I'm not scared of Phil Foden anymore. I think that Phil Foden's played out of position.
Have you seen his face?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like I think he's played out of position so many times right there that I don't think he really knows what position he's playing. Kind of like how Oscar Bob, kind of like when they are Rico Lewis, when they have the same thing. They play them all in so many different spots that they don't even really know where they're supposed to play at. So I mean, again, right there, I think the big thought process is right there. What do you play up front? I mean, because honestly, if Cody's healthy right there, I think we have to play him on the left. I mean, because he's the best player we have on the left at the moment. But again, right there, what's your choice right there? I don't like Diaz as a number 9, but I also I can't put Darwin in a starting spot right there in this match. And Jota right there, I just don't know what I get from Jota sometimes. I feel almost like I'm like Matoush like this about the same thing with Jota. It's like I don't get the full package from him anymore. It's like it's kind of like a what's left of a player to me in a way right there. I think that he's got skills, but it just doesn't come out anymore as when we first signed him.
Do you think? Am I right in saying Marmoush has only scored that hat trick? From that last game, those are some goals. Is it possible? Because I heard that he looked a bit disinterested last night once the Real.
He didn't want to know.
Yeah,
all the City didn't want to know. I think they took 3-0. They took 3-0, and that they were gone. Yeah.
But Sunday, all the narratives are going to be the next Egyptian king. He's going to play his World Cup final game against us just because of Mohamed Salah. And I think going back to Jota, if you again, listen to Slot's press conferences, and that's why I love his press conferences because you don't have to read between the lines. He pretty much speaks like he's on the spectrum. Like it would just tell you everything that you'd want to know. And with Jota, he said that he's probably the best striker we have, and if he could have got more months out of him, that would have been ideal. And so I think Jota definitely starts. I don't think Gakpo starts. I don't think he's going to take that risk because, like Kazi said, he's learning on the job, and that being the case, he doesn't want to take that risk where you put Gakpo on for 50, 60 minutes and then release him for the rest of the season. I think so. Diaz definitely plays on the left, and then obviously it's that midfield's a conundrum. Whether he plays. He loves Szoboszlai. You can tell he loves Szoboszlai. He loves his work rate. And it's just one of the things, and I almost guaranteed Haaland will play. This is there's no other way for Man City to get into the Champions League now unless they start winning all these games. Haaland being, rested, I think he was rested or whatever, however you want to say it, I think he guarantee he plays on Sunday. But I think Marmoush is going to probably have the game of his life, and that's what scares me because having Robertson or even Tsimikas on the left, it's not good.
Is it possible though that we've seen that slot is a little bit more strategic than Klopp, that maybe he will use Robertson or Tsimikas. It's going to probably be Robertson to funnel Marmoush into Van Dijk and let that Van Dijk actually deal with him.
It's hard. I go back and forth on the Gakpo thing if Gakpo's fit. I'd love Gakpo against Kieran Trippier in Newcastle. But I would also love Gakpo's defensive work rate against Marmoush or our left back over Diaz. And I think the manager might think like that going, if I can get an hour out of him. Do you know what I mean? If I can just get an hour out of him and I'll worry about Newcastle. And when that comes up. By the way, Cody has a really good record in Anfield right now, hasn't he? He's on like this great run in Anfield for when he plays. And you have 2 Anfield games coming up, Newcastle and Southampton. I know Southampton's a bit later and just feel like this is a gap right now. So I think he might think, if Gakpo's fit, I think he does Gakpo, if he's fit. But I do think he'll do Diaz in the night, if Gakpo plays. If Gakpo doesn't play, I think he does Diaz on the left and Jota down the middle.
And Jota on the line. But do you think if Gakpo plays, and Diaz goes 9, that might end up causing a little bit more problems for City centre-backs than like Núñez or Jota would, because he doesn't play like a number 9.
Correct, because he comes so deep.
Yeah.
The one thing that you can always say with Diaz, and I don't like him in that position, is that because he comes so deep, if you're Kushner or someone like that who's kind of new, do you go or not? Because the argument is if you don't go and he turns on you, well, he's going to beat you for pace. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing that you might not fancy that. Because the one thing I've noticed about City this season, maybe not this Kushner because he's kind of new, but the rest of them, like Ake and Akanji and whoever it is, I know there's a few injuries. When they're back, when they're running towards their goal, they look slow. They look fucked. So when you turn them round, they just look, they go, I can't even get back in. Do you know what I mean? And that's a part of where Vardiol is definitely playing on the left back against Salah because of his pace. Do you know what I mean? Like he hasn't even thought about putting Vardiol in his correct position, which is centre half. He's just went, no, play left wing all the time because he hasn't got one. I think this is hard for the manager. I think it's a massive game of football anyway, because every game right now in the league is a massive game of football. Southampton at home is a massive game of football, gents. Trust me, when you're going for the league title, they always are. So I think the manager has to make a big decision. He may want yesterday with the Curtis Jones thing on the left wing. It didn't work, in my opinion. He may want. He'll argue it did work. Because his argument is, well, I've got a striker who missed an open goal, another one who went one-on-one with the keeper who should pass, Jota. He created 3 or 4 massive chances we had. Do you know what I mean? So that's his argument. So I think he's doing Gakpo. I think if he can get Gakpo on the pitch, he'll do Gakpo.
Also with Gakpo right there, you have a better relationship and communication between Gakpo and Robertson and Van Dijk right there than you have with Diaz. I think that Diaz a lot of times on that right hand side just kind of does his own thing, and I think that he just doesn't come back and he doesn't backtrack right there, which we all talked about plenty of times. And I think that actually goes and it actually gives Robertson a lot more movement to go back behind. Because if you watch Cody Cody will actually go backtrack, but he also drops back in versus Diaz coming there and go hug the side and try to turn back in at the last moment. It's a totally different movement thing right there. And I think the movement together between Robertson and Gapco makes more sense. So for me right there, if Gapco's healthy, he has to play.
My guess, by the way, against if he's going to do a diddle like he did against Villa, is Curtis Jones diddle. It'll be Jota left wing and Diaz in the 9. I think he can diddle it.
Let me flip it around before we go to score predictions. How hard of a game is this for Pep Guardiola?
I mean, listen, there's a part here right now where I think he respects Liverpool more than Arsenal. I actually think if you'd asked him, he'd rather Liverpool win the league than Arsenal, even though Arteta's his mate, because of what's happened in the previous games against them. It's difficult, isn't it? But we've had to swallow it a couple of times when Liverpool have been out the title race and they just, beat us, and it is what it is. And at this present moment, and this is why I'm frustrated with this year if Liverpool do not get over the line, because trust me, they're going to come back with a vengeance. Like, don't you worry about it. Yeah. This might be Arne Slot's greatest ever chance to win the Premier League. It could be his greatest ever chance to win the Champions League. So let's not fucking fumble the bag now. Let's get going. Let's not trip over the line. Just win the league. And then worry about next year when next year comes.
So, see, what do you think? Is Pep Guardiola going to be breaking out the Neosporin 10 minutes after the game for his head?
No, I think this is a free hit for him. There's no way in this universe that Man City are going to fire him. Even if Man City don't make it into the Champions League, they'll just count it as a bye season or whatever. But no, I don't think he'll lose. He'll lose his shit over this. Absolutely not. I mean, we're top of the league. We have the respect. It's not just Guardiola probably wants us to win the league more than us. I think it's the entire Manchester City team, because the shit housing from Arsenal, and after everything, the disrespect that City got after that loss, I think given the political hatred that Liverpool have in the UK, you've got to be a really, really shithouse of a team to be more hated than us around England, and that's what Arsenal are. And so, but yeah, no, I don't think he's just gonna just take it like how we had to take it. Like Klopp has taken it. He didn't lose his shit when we lost to Manchester City, even when we lost 5-1 at home or 4-1 at home during the COVID season. It is what it is. I don't think it'll be that kind of scoreline in our favour. I think it's going to be a tougher game than what we think. But I think that's going to be just because we're going to make it tougher for ourselves.
Brian, do you think City season, as I think, because he said that they need to get into the Champions League through the league, and any stumble is a massive stumble for them. Do you think this makes this game bigger for them in terms of their confidence? Should they lose this and fall behind, they have to start counting the games up as they come along, don't they? They're figuring out where they can pick up those points. Especially as Newcastle seem to be doing a lot better.
I mean, I think the biggest chess match is going to be that last 75, 10 minutes of this match right there about who can keep the right head. Because I think that right there, we've seen that City's legs go away from them at that last point, but we also see that our heads go away sometimes at that last moment. So that's going to be your gamble right there to see who's able to come to stay mentally strong right there and go through this match. But as far as City goes, I think that City can actually afford a draw out of this match or even a loss out of this match, because I think if you look at their run of matches that they have going for there's some easily winnable matches right there that they play. Because I mean, I think they only have one or two a top 5 teams I think left. I think in their run. So I mean, and I think they're definitely a lot better than the teams on the bottom half of the table. So I think that's this isn't a must-win for Pep. I think he'd be very content with a draw, and a loss wouldn't be that so bad to him.
Okay, Brian, give me your score prediction and impact player.
Oh, this is hard. It's a hard thing to go.
Pardon?
I really think this is
don't look down after you say that sentence.
Matrix. I really think that honestly, I think it's gonna be a draw. This really just has a draw written all over it again. As much as I hate draws right there, but I just think that I think that words that we were. I said a couple in the last post after the Villa match right there that if we got 8 points out of this run of matches right there, I think that we'd be in good shape. I think that we have a better squad than Newcastle's squad, and I think that we should be beating Southampton. So if we want to come through getting a draw, we get the draw out of Villa and we get a draw out of City. That puts us on 8 points right there, and I think that right there will work for me. So I'm saying probably like a 1-1, 2-2 draw, maybe something in that category there. Because again, Arsenal have 5 London derbies they have to face, and they have to play Bournemouth. They're not winning all those matches. It's not happening. They're not going to do it. So I think if we just got to come through and try to maintain our head right there and just work through our fixtures.
So Z, what's your score prediction and your impact player?
Yeah, I like Brian. 2-2. I'll go for 2-2. It's 2-2. Impact player. I don't know. McAllister, I guess, if you can control that midfield, and Man City's midfield being run ragged like our midfielders run ragged that World Cup season. Yeah, I think McAllister will be our impact player.
Sorry, my impact player was Van Dijk. Van Dijk.
Cosy, what's your score prediction and impact player?
I think we win 2-0. I think it could be just a dire first half, and I think that plays into our hands a little bit. The impact player is just written in the stars, isn't it, for Darwin Núñez? Just to come off the bench and just the most Darwin Núñez thing of all time, isn't it? Just think about his career at Liverpool. It's the most Darwin Núñez thing of all time. And then people will start telling me that we should keep him next year and things. But I just don't know what's in it for City. I don't know how much the Real Madrid game's taken out of them. I just don't know what's in it for them. I don't know if they've got the hunger and the fight to beat Liverpool. I just don't know if they've got it right now. And I think Liverpool need to win more than City. I think sometimes when you go into games and you need to win more, you usually win the game. We should have done against Villa, for example. I felt like we should have won, you know what I mean? The manager will argue that. So, yeah, Liverpool 2-0.
I'm going to book the trend. I'm going to say 4-1 Liverpool and Salah hat-trick.
Okay, not a Darwin Núñez after what you've been saying for the whole season.
Nope. Salah hat-trick because he seems to really love playing against Manchester City. Mohamed Salah does. He really seems to terrify.
And by the way, the only attacker yesterday looked like he wanted to win the Premier League, which is quite nice.
Yeah,
that was nice, wasn't it? To look, It didn't look like a player who wants to win the league. It looked quite nice to look, you know. Yeah. I thought he was great, and he walks off again with another goal and assist. So that's what he does these days. Yeah,
that's why he gets. Oh, I can't talk about that. Sorry.
12 weeks to go.
But first of all, thank you, gentlemen, for that. An enjoyable show, and start thinking about your ideas for next week's Room 433. I'll give you the team in the private comments. But for everybody else, thank you for joining us. Spencer Stewart, thanks as always for the comments and for your unwavering loyalty in the face of mediocrity every Thursday evening.
Share us on OnlyFans.
Show us your OnlyFans, fella.
Yeah, show us your OnlyFans. But if you want to know more about that, and if you want to find out where Spencer Stewart's OnlyFans are, you got to do this. You got to follow us on YouTube and like and subscribe. Hit that bell. Smash the keyboard or tap it lightly on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, also known as X, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Smoke Signals, the British Mail Post Office, Royal Mail Post Office, and the Pony Express. Morse code, yeah. But us gentlemen will be back. There's the coffee show, I believe, tomorrow morning, and then keep an eye out for a pre-match and a post-match for Sunday, which I won't be on because I got to work, so I'm not even going to see my Salah hat-trick. But, you know, maybe me not watching it will be the thing that swings in our favour.
On God's day of rest.
Yeah, I got that. God's day of rest. No rest for the wicked, as they say, and I'm one of the wickedest. So, Brian, Cosy, thanks for joining us. Everybody else, have a good weekend. Peace out. Here is the funky music. Have a good one.